agreement about. They include lighting projects and even water supply, basically. But then we have not just stopped there, because is it 2 days ago now, if I'm not mistaken? There's yet another MOU that has been signed with a Russian consortium, and that takes us to the topical issue where Nigeria is signing an MOU with Russian consortium to revitalize Ajaokuta steel plant. My name is Udwak Daniel, and now let's jump into it as quickly as we can. Right now, over this issue, there has been indeed quite a number of statements and dimensions looked at in this regard, as the Ajaokuta steel company plant deserves to have a bit of an introduction so that we have a proper understanding of what the discourse is all about. Now, Ajaokuta steel plant was established in 1979 and was designed to be Nigeria's largest steel producer. However, due to funding issues, corruption, mismanagement, all of this, of course, will not be news to us. The plant has remained inactive for decades. Nigeria's steel industry has significant potentials. That is, notwithstanding. But the point is, with iron ore reserves estimated at 3 billion metric tons. Now, that is a lot, if you ask me. Nigeria's federal government signed a memorandum of understanding with a Russian consortium, thermometer Novostal M Proforce Manufacturing. 2. What are they hoping to look at? They are to rehabilitate. Right? The Ajaokuta steel plant. That's the first thing they're poised to doing, to rehabilitate the Ajaokuta steel plant. The second thing would be to complete the National Iron Ore Mining Company. That is the NIOMCO. And the third would be to operate both entities. So it's not just about rehabilitating the Ajaokuta, steel company. It's to also complete the National Iron Ore Mining Company. And then after these, they will now operate both entities. That is what it's about. Now, there are some key figures that should be looked into. 500,000 plus direct, indirect jobs expected. There are some things, there's some advantages of it. And $4 billion annual savings from reduced steel imports. And we're looking to see $1 trillion targets for Nigeria's economy by 2030, and 3 billion metric tons of iron ore reserves. Well, based on the research, though, I came across, a 25-year-old, Nigerian who has made a statement in this regard. It says, "I've been searching for a job for years. The steel plant's revival gives me hope for a better future." Maybe this might be your voice as well. But then, if you also look at historical analysis, it is very important that we also go back to seeing where, from the perspective of this Ajaokuta Steel Company, where we have come from, where we were before, and where we are now, and where we are looking forward to being, in light of this discourse. Similar controversies that surrounded Nigeria's steel industry. 2004 privatization attempt failed. 2008 renationalization, I don't think that also went well. But then, if you look at the previous attempt, Obasanjo's administration between 1999 to 2007, they allocated a whopping 38 billion naira to Ajaokuta. Yar'Adua administration between 2007 to 2010, a whopping 50 billion naira approved. Okay. Jonathan administration 2010 to 2015, a whopping 168 billion naira allocated. Buhari administration, 2015 to 2023, 71 billion naira approved. So when you put all of these together, it makes us want to wonder, is this a mining site for money laundering, or for monies that would be left unattended to, or for monies that will be kept in covertly and not used and then to be shared by whoever, those who feel that they deserve the company more than Nigerians, or deserve the monies more than Nigerians, deserve them? or would it indeed be put into this, Ajaokuta Steel Company once and for all this time, giving us a sense of belonging, giving us a renewed hope agenda indeed? Well, I have my guest in the person of Mr. Benedict Lalekong Agunloye. He is an information professional, a policy and public affairs analyst. Mr. Benedict, welcome aboard.
Good morning.
Right. So Ajaokuta Steel Company has been recurring over time, and just recently Nigeria has signed an MOU with a Russian, a Russian, is it a Russian company now? Yes, and the idea is to ensure that we got it right this time and get the Ajaokuta Steel Company running. In fact, they call it a Russian Consortium. Thermometer, Novostal, M. Proforce Manufacturing, right? The idea is for them to rehabilitate the Ajaokuta steel plant, complete the National Iron Ore Mining Company, and then operate both entities, and maybe for a period of time up until we are able to handle, things. Is this going to be yet another lie? What comes to you when we have invested so much in the reviving of Ajaokuta Steel Company, and yet here we are again?
Well, any attempt to put Ajaokuta Steel to work, as far as I'm concerned, is a great effort in the right direction. And I also think that getting the Russians back to come and render the service, for me, is also a positive development. Now, you had President Obasanjo going into Russia during, I think, his first term or at the beginning of his second term, did some robust discussion, and we expected that the Russians will move in to inspect and work will start. But the next moment we heard was they are leasing the site to one global infrastructure at the time,
right,
an Indian conglomerate. Now the reality is this: India, as today, should be one of the major beneficiaries of steel trade into Nigeria. I think it should be more of an India and a Chinese competition. Now, getting any of the two to come and develop local capacity for you is definitely not going to work, because whatever they develop here means that you are competing directly with their home country.
Okay.
And it doesn't matter how private you look at those people, the economy of their nations, especially the Asians, are important to them in every relationship. So for me, therefore, bringing back the original core owner is a good development. But the fact that there is no timeline, I've heard all the talking about, I'm not interested in the figures. My primary concern will be how long will it take this thing to complete? Where is the timeline? In 6 months, where are we?
Right.
In 12 months, where are we? If that is not included in the MOU, then it might just be another jamboree. But where that is included and is going to end in the regime, in the current term, that is, it will something that will be completed between now and 2027, then there is something for Nigerians to be excited about. It's not just about the direct employment. It is that we are a consuming nation.
Right.
Our roads, our buildings, our bridges, many things we do, our churches rely heavily on steel-based construction. So it means, therefore, that if you can get this steel locally, the turnaround time for projects will become less. That's number one.
Right.
Of course, if the steels are available and they are cheap, you expect that the shipping industry will improve, because there will be materials for people who wants to build ship to work in Nigeria. So Nigerdoc and the rest of them can swim back to limelight. The proficiency of our naval engineering in shipping would also become enhanced. And of course, you will know that the army, there are private sector trying to do one or two things in forging. Metal forging is something that is innate with us. Go and check the Benin bronze, go and check all form of the artifacts that we have. It tells you that forging is a skill that is innate in several parts of the country, from Niger to southern Kaduna to the southwest to Benin to the southeast. Blacksmithing is very old. So it means if you have metal in abundance, the creativity of Nigerians can be unleashed.
Let me draw your attention.
So it's not about who works there, but it is about the completion timeline. How soon can you bring this thing to completion?
Let me draw your attention to, another angle. What role do you think this would have on Nigeria's economy, especially when we are at a time looking into diversification?
No, that's what I've said.
Okay.
People have skills that can be unleashed by the presence of steel. And when the steel is not being imported, when it is obtained locally, it means there will be no more there will be less pressure on the dollars. So it means if you do local refining, we grow our food locally, we get our steel locally, meaning that over time our cars can become available. Now Nigeria got into steel almost the same time with Venezuela. And funny enough, both countries had USSR as their partner at the time. Venezuela was long ago completed, but ours was not. I think the minister 79 to 81 was the there about one Paul Lunongo, I think from the current Benue state. I did remember that he had what he called a blueprint. But after that, he left office. I really can't say what happened to the blueprint.
So do you
also know that in the days of IBB, I know a lot of people went to the university to study metallurgical and material engineering because their focus was Ajaokuta will soon start running. And so by the time before they graduate, job is waiting for them. Some of them have been 20, 30 years now out of school, and Ajaokuta is still not ready. So if you get Ajaokuta to work, the impact on the economy will be huge, both in savings, both in driving in the industrial revolution, which was the primary purpose. I think one of the core reasons why Ajaokuta was envisioned was to drive industrial revolution, right? And of course, we know that steel is crucial to many of our diversification. So if you get that sector working, farm implements will come, a whole lot. It's an unlimited chain. The value chain is very huge.
Right.
But like I said, it is not just talking about the value chain and postulating. It is demanding the timeline. When will it be completed? And everybody concerned working to ensure that it is fully actualized and actualized in reasonable time.
Right, but
if you ask no more than 18 to 24 months from now.
We've seen a lot of MOU signings. We've seen a lot of that, from the past administration. In fact, as I reeled out earlier, we have seen, is it about from the Obasanjo administration now, between 1999 to 2007, 38 billion naira was allocated. For the Yaradua administration, 50 billion naira. The Jonathan administration, 168 billion naira. All of these in billions. And the Buhari administration, of course, 71 billion naira. Now we are about to yet allocate some more, in ensuring that this works. Are you very, very hopeful that this time we'll get it rightly? Or is this just going to be the same old story?
Well, that's what I'm saying, that we want to see the timeline.
Okay.
That is the most important element. It's not about the cost, if you ask me. If it needs to cost more and finish in 6 months, get it done. And whatever the pains are in terms of, even if it has to do with borrowing, if this fund is borrowed specifically for the purpose of finishing that project in 200 days, I assure you that paying back will not be difficult.
Okay.
Because the impact the direct impact will be very huge. Very, very huge. We are a thinking nation. We are a forging nation, right? A nation that have expertise. Even when there was no Western education, we had expertise in tools creation, right? And with internet and everything around us, with all the DIYs, you cannot imagine the creativity, the availability of steel will unleash in Nigeria. So for me, I am not excited because there's an MOU. The excitement, I am not concerned that the cost may be high, but the idea is that let's have a timeline that is defined.
Right.
Something between the next 6 months to maximum 24 months. Let everything be completed. Let Ajaokuta be operational, let Itakpe be operational, and let's begin to see the result.
Okay, well,
that's my biggest concern.
Yeah, the conversation is still trending here as Nigeria has signed an MOU with Russian Consortium to revitalize Ajaokuta steel plant, and we still have our guest in the person of Mr. Benedicto Laleko Agunloye. You can throw in your voice and your thought, into the discourse as some are beginning to ask questions about what about homegrown industrialization experts. What role can they also play in this regard? And does this have the power to indeed revitalize every other sector of the economy? Well, the number would be 0907-353-0044, and the WhatsApp portal number would be 0909-705-4450. And of course, you can send voice notes via the WhatsApp portal. No, please don't send a voice note. All right, but just send a message to the WhatsApp portal number. And don't call the WhatsApp portal number as you are doing right now. So please do well to call the studio line and let the message be very short, straight to the point, and we will indeed have a conversation. And the voice calls will only allow for 2 minutes. Once again, giving you the numbers in case you missed it the last time, 0907-353-0044 would be that number to call. And then, let's get into, some of the fears. And there are some fears that, some of us have about the Ajaokuta Steel, company revitalization. As much as there is so much joy and happiness in the air and quite a number of expectations in that regard, there is also the place of environmental sustainability, where the question is out there saying, hey, how will the government ensure, that there is some levels of transparency and accountability in the project? And then the place of what measures should be taken, to address environmental concerns. Right. We'll just see how we can take this one right now.
Hello?
Yeah, hello and good morning. You there?
Yes, good morning, my dear brother. This is Alami from Central. I greet our guest.
Yeah.
Yes. Unfortunately, I used to be a strong believer in the Ajaokuta, steel company, a multi-billion, a project of over $500 billion US, situated in my home state of Kogi State. I grew up in Ajaokuta. I was born and bred in Ajaokuta. For over 18 years of my life that I lived in Ajaokuta, power never went off for 1 second.
Right.
Up until the unfortunate, that was at around 2006, 2007, when everything became completely, completely collapsed. I have stopped, believing, I have stopped deceiving myself, Ajaokuta Steel Company will never and can never come to life. We should stop deceiving ourselves as a country and move on. The government should be ashamed. The successful administration of the Nigerian government should cover their faces in shame. And I have every reason to believe that they are intentionally sabotaging Ajaokuta Steel Company to ensure that the North Central Nigeria, because that very project has all the capacity. This project, when completed, has the capacity to make Nigeria a world superpower. You can be producing weapons, but they do not want it to work. Ajaokuta Steel Company just now has become a conduit pipe for stealing funds. You know, when I was reading through the budget of 2024, when the federal government appropriated a miserable and pathetic 30 billion naira for the takeoff for a project needing close to 20 billion US dollars, that is ridiculous. Then you are saying you're signing an MOU with Zenith Bank and other financial institutions to fund it. Where will they get the money from? You're signing another MOU with Russia to do what? This is not the first time I'll be hearing about MOU.
Right.
Like our guest has said, I'm no longer, I'm no longer there to shout about it. In fact, hearing that MOU upset my soul. Ajaokuta Steel Company is dead.
All right,
it will never come to white light because of the greediness of our political class. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you, Alamin, for that one. Alamin right there saying that it will never come to bearing. And for some reason, he had also come from the place of, you know what, I grew up there. Talk about personal experience when talking matters that bother, the Nigerian society and matters that concern the political hemisphere. But then there is, the thing is, can we also try and maybe, just maybe, put hope alive? Because there are some who believe that this time might just be different from the other time, right? It may not have gone well the last time. Maybe they didn't have the right tools or the right information to get Ajaokuta Steel Company working at the time. But yeah, maybe this time they got it. They were getting it rightly. As our guest, Mr. Benedict, had put it out there, saying, okay, going back to the same persons who indeed put in the formative years, for that very company. This time, do we have a shot? Do we have a chance? And if we do have a chance, would all of these plans be followed, to the letter? As some stakeholders had put out statements. I mean, Shaibu Abubakar Audu, Minister of Steel Development, had said reviving the steel sector will reduce importation and save scarce foreign exchange. Alexei V. Grozev, Deputy Minister of Industry and Trade, Russia, had said, assuring cooperation for project success. And Chris Osa Isokunwu, Permanent Secretary, Ministry of Steel Development, said the MOU marks a significant milestone in Nigeria's industrialization efforts. Keep in mind as well that similar, revitalization had gone down in South Africa's ArcelorMittal and the India Steel Authority of India Limited, that's the SAIL sale, and the International U.S. Steel Corporation. They've also gone through revitalization, so it's not really a bad idea, so to speak, when we talk about revitalizing the Ajaokuta Steel Company. But the only bane of it would be the fact that over time, we have sunken monies in that very, company, and there is nothing to show for. But let's talk a bit. I mean, Mr. Benedict, you heard Alamin and his thoughts. What would be your right to respond to that? And as you do so, do you also believe that this would indeed become the blueprint towards creating a massive or an influx job creation in a time like this that would be sustainable over the years?
Well, the impact and possible spillover effect of an Ajaokuta company working to full capacity on Nigeria cannot be overemphasized. It is open, it is plain, and it is clear that if we have local steel, a lot will change with us. Now, looking at what must have gone in the past, I also think that it is time that we let the past. There is a saying, right? He said, yesterday is like a bounced check, right? Mm-hmm. And the future is a post-dated check. So the only currency of life is today. So we need to shape tomorrow from today and avoid the errors of the past. Now, clearly, therefore, what we should be demanding for is, like I said, the timeline.
Okay.
And it is for the National Assembly and all other stakeholders. The Committee on Environment by now should be asking Ministry of Environment, where is the new environmental impact assessment? What was obtainable in 1979 or 1993 is not obtainable now. Kogi is now a state. Universities are around the place. Houses have moved in. So Ministry of Environment, Ecological Fund, and the rest of them should be stimulated by now, both by the government and by the people who have oversight function in National Assembly, to ensure that you don't begin to have environmental crisis that will hamper the project in the days to come. And as much as possible, you need to insulate the contractors and the project partners from every form of local and national politics.
All right.
But more importantly, there must be date line. Like I keep saying, leave the figures, because we want to talk about corruption and figures. No, let's have specifics. That this is what will happen between Itakpe and Ajaokuta. This is what would happen in Ajaokuta in 3 months, in 6 months, in 100 days, in 150 days, and then people can begin to tick that checklist.
Well, I'm going to take you up on
the checklist should be available.
I'm going to take you up on the timeline, submission that you've given, but that will be after going to pay some bills. All right, don't go away. This is Eagles 102.3 FM Abuja.
Eagles 102.3 Abuja.
Hello, everyone. This is a special invitation to tune in to Eagles 102.3 FM for the Safe Sphere Connect program with Town Planner Ibrahim MT, the safety doctor. If you're looking for more information and guidance on the morality of life, health, safety, security, and the environment, then this is the show for you. Join us every Tuesday from 4:30 to 5:30 p.m. for an hour of insightful discussions, expert interviews, and engaging segments that will keep you informed and safe. Don't miss out. Mark your calendars and make sure to tune in to Eagles 102.3 FM. Stay safe, stay informed, and connect with Safe Sphere Connect.
Eagles 102.3 Abuja.
My people, the thing where they happen for my area,
Do you think I will now find out that you have contract to bring fresh girls?
I brought you from the gutters. Who gave you all the connects? MDG who? Without me, you would have been nobody. But
Join Media Coalition and Awareness to Halt Human Trafficking, MICAT, on I Wish I Knew radio drama every Saturday at 10 a.m. Let us join hands and kick human trafficking out of our communities. I Wish I Knew radio drama, brought to you by MICAT in partnership with the National Agency for Prohibition of Trafficking in Persons, NAPTIP, and funded by the Embassy of Denmark in Nigeria.
No offense to the commercials. It's just that we want to see other audio.
Eagles 102.3.
Nigeria signing MOU with Russian Consortium to revitalize Ajaokuta steel plants is what we are looking at today, and our guest has been Mr. Benedict Olaleko Agunoye, an information professional, a policy and public affairs analyst. And just to also bring to your eardrums the fact that, hey, you can also sponsor the Eagles Outlook, talking about the political and current affairs, prog show with Eagles 102.3 FM Abuja. And, of course, all of that will indeed take a very positive effect. Yes, across social media platforms we have a strong presence. Get across YouTube channel and do well to subscribe. Get across to the Facebook page wall and do well to give us a like and a following, and you will see or have an audio visual radio experience that you can count on anytime, any day, and across every other social media platforms at Eagles FM Abuja. We're still talking the issues on signing of MOUs, and especially the radar would be on the Ajaokuta Steel Company, where many believe is just a charade, while others are saying, well, a few precisely, still having some hopes lit up, in their eyes regarding, the revitalization of that particular company. The potential, are enormous. But then our guest, Mr. Benedict, is holding the key from the place of timeline, holding, the government, to account. That the governments must give a timeline to ensuring that we can indeed repose our trust, within the process and the system. But then, have we still any trust left, especially when it comes to the Ajaokuta Steel Company? Or should we just keep hope alive and just stay on the positive side? But Mr. Benedict, talking about giving timelines, we have seen many times that the federal government had come up with timelines that are somewhat unsubstantiated, timelines that would come and elapse. I mean, take, for example, the NNPCL talking about the refineries getting better. Oh, we said 99% completion. Our experts have told us that the Port Harcourt is coming aboard mainstream. Oh, no, the Kaduna will come. They've set dates, timeline here and there. And every time, without a blink, they have surpassed these timelines. And you might want to ask the question, okay, so Nigerians be like, okay, what next? Now they passed the timeline. What have we really, really done to indeed hold them accountable and say, you know what, you need to come on the table and let us know exactly what is going on? Do you believe still that the timelines is enough to get this started and done and over with?
Well, number one, there must be a timeline. And the timeline has to be stated at the beginning. And that's why we're talking about break the project into manageable scales.
Oh, okay.
After 50 days, this is what we should be saying. After 80, this is what we should be saying. At the 120, this is where we should be. And so those who have oversight function should not wait until the last day. You should be able to check if they say, oh, we'll be done with this in 30 days. On day 30, go there and check. If they are not done, give a report and let there be an adjustment instantly. And if the man in charge who does not have the capacity to continue, the recommendation can be made. But when you leave the job to, you see, you ask a student to write exam, right? And then you are asking the student who possibly had not prepared or who doesn't even know, who had never attended the lectures, to possibly give you the time he needs to finish the exam. He will stay there forever. But the idea should be that, I think in my school in those days, we have a number of lecturers that from the first day you resume for the semester, as you are signing the course form, they are giving you that on so and so date you submit your first tutorial. Okay. On so and so day you are submitting your second assessment. Lecture ends on this day, and then this week is for exam. He cannot determine the day for the exam, but for the assessment and the tutorials, it is within his power as the lecturer. So the day you resume, you already know that. But you see some students, they wait until a day to submission. And that's when they are struggling to write. And then they will have sleepless night. And then they will tell you, my university is university of tension and agony. But it's not. They created the tension and agony for themselves. But because they know the timeline requires them to also submit, right? Then it is impossible for them not to submit, or they will fail the course. So those things should go to part of the parameters for rating the performance of the minister, for rating the performance of the various companies in place. But without timeline, whatever other things we are doing is jamboree. Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah, I get
so
that.
So if you have timeline that everybody can now keep trust on it, and if they missed...
Hello?
Okay. And if they miss the timeline, then they know they have to work to make adjustments.
All right, what is the place of...
Right, they have to work to make adjustments.
Yeah, what is the place...
If you don't put any timeline at all, it's like giving somebody a blank check.
All right, if you don't put a timeline to it, it's like giving someone a blank check.
Blank check.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Well,
When you give a blank check,
Yeah.
he can write what he likes.
Okay. Well, we're not giving a blank check right now, but we do follow timelines right here on the show. So, but the timeline is telling us now that, hey, we need to put out the phone numbers. So, well, you also want to join your voice on this one, and you might as well have a dimension to this conversation. Alameen had come from the place of that the government should indeed hide their faces in the mud for, the constant aberration, the constant lack of getting the Ajaokuta Steel Company, up and running. In fact, recounting his childhood at the time or his growing up years at the time, and how it used to be, for him and all. But then, what would be your own fear about the Ajaokuta Steel Company? Was signing an MOU with the Russian Consortium a very, very bad idea? I mean, considering all of the MOUs that we have signed in time past that have seemingly not seen the light of day in terms of execution. We're not just always perfect when it comes to initiating a call, but not indeed executing the call, right? That might just be the fear. But then looking at the brighter side, some of the implications will be the fact that job creation and economic growth is on the sidelines, reduced dependence on steel imports, which of course shamefully we still import steel in our dear country when we do have the potential to export it, and increased government revenue. It means more money, within the IGR, and improved infrastructure development, enhanced global competitiveness, and your expectations will be about the fact that, look, we need some transparency in project implementation. We need timely completion of all of these projects. Effective job creation, of course, is part of the expectations that Nigerians have. And environmental sustainability might be very, very noteworthy, in this regard. Local community engagement is also another angle. But then it doesn't stop there. We might as well want to look at the monitoring and evaluation, where regular progress reports, stakeholders engagement, performance metrics, transparency in funding, community feedback mechanisms, should be effected, and effectively follow through till the end in terms of sustainability, long-term investment, strategies, environmental consideration, local content development, capacity building, private sector participation might as well want to be a very good one to start. 0907 353 0044 would be that number, and the WhatsApp portal number would be 0909 705 4450. I see a couple of messages via the WhatsApp. Let's just go quickly and take it all out. This one says, good morning, UD and our amiable Benedict Agunloye. Good morning to you too. I'm sure the guest is also saying the same. It says, this is James from Suleja. All right, what is obtainable in the iron ore, steel, and the entire mining sector is akin to what is obtainable in the oil industry to our refineries. Too much mystery and clandestine activities due to personal interest and corruption, and the fact that the government keeps using Ajaokuta as a propaganda tool is what makes it more questionable. I clearly remember under the past administration when the government announced the steel plant was back up and running, a project that has been that comatose for this long would require clearly spelled out phase approach and specifics on how to get it back upstream. That will help monitor the project and keep track of the progress being recorded. A functional Ajaokuta plant would not only revitalize many sectors of the economy and the country, but will also encourage rapid development of Kogi State and the plethora of activities it will attract. These MOUs and agreements will transcend to nothingness if nothing is done on ground. We all know it's just a waste of time and propaganda, but let's pretend to keep hope alive. Well, that's what James says. And then away from James now, we see this one from Yusuf all the way from Wusei 2. It says, good morning, UD and your guest. Okay, thank you. Says, good concerning Ajaokuta Steel Company, I can assure you that the steel company is being sabotaged exactly the same way our oil refineries were sabotaged. Unscrupulous government officials killed the company to pave the way for importation of steel, perhaps by companies they are interested in. It will take the likes of Dangote to expose the rot in that sector. Have a nice day, Yusuf says from Wusei 2. Alameen also adding a little bit into, the discourse this morning. It says it is shameful that our government over time has continued to sabotage and neglect Ajaokuta Steel Company, a project dubbed as the bedrock of Nigeria's industrialization revolution, a project worth over $100 billion with direct and indirect employment of our 500,000 Nigerians to work there, a project that, when completed, would save Nigeria over $10 billion annually from steel importation, a project that will industrialize Nigeria. To think that this said project at different times have been argued that's what would be needed to complete this project is around $2.5 billion, and Nigerian government cannot source these funds in 17 years. What a shame. It's obvious the powers that be do not want it revived. Halloween is adding up to that. Well then, Mr. Benedict, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
So what would be the prospects, that Nigerians should really look out for this time? And how can, CSOs engage in this process to ensuring that, this time it won't be a tales by moonlight sort of situation?
Yeah, that's what I said. Number one, on the part of the minister and the ministry and the government, let's have the timelines. On the part of the civil society, the state government, the communities, the National Assembly that have oversight function, it is to now hold the government and the consigned, that's the company on site, the TPE and the other consortiums, to task to ensure that they are delivering what has been agreed to time and to specification. Now, clearly, there has to be transparency, at least in the timelines, so that people know what they are looking out for. We are not the ones to pay. I don't believe there is any fund you need for a developmental project that we cannot source as a nation. Even if you are taking it as a loan, provided it is transparent, right? And the EFCC and all the CSO should be ready to follow the money so that it doesn't get into the company in Russia and the next day disappear to some private account in Malta or elsewhere. So the need for that due diligence, the need for vigilance. So the place of vigilance, I think, is the responsibility of almost all concerned, right? So the place of vigilance, that's where the CSO will be needed. That's where National Assembly will be. That's where all the banking transaction monitoring groups should be. So there must be monitoring, there must be time-to-time evaluation, and they must keep to the specifics. Now, I believe that the president has this golden opportunity to prove to the nation that he loves the nation. Because again, unlike the oil sector, where many people cannot play, right? Oil for us is more like security, and it's not more like petrol is spirit. That's why it's called premium motor spirit.
Right.
But still, it's not spirit. And still would affect more people directly. You cannot quantify what will happen if the car plants, Peugeot, Volkswagen, and those that had died over time, if there is still for them as raw material, the chances that they will come back to life does exist. And like I told you, the forging industry, our panel beaters are some of the best in the world. Our blacksmiths are among the best in the world. Our turners, iron turners, are among the best in the world. I've seen them do things. So if you bring the materials to their doorstep, if they do not have to pay dollars to import, a whole lot will change in the system. So because a whole lot of life depends on this, we are begging the National Assembly to ensure are defined, the timelines are reasonable, and everybody, and that's what I mean, must be vigilant to ensure that if you see anything going wrong, to say it, so that it does not become another refinery story.
Right.
It doesn't become another refinery story. And thank God it's something on land, not something on the creek. It's the creek that is not accessible. The lands and the mountains can be surrounded. So we can define what activity happens where. And we also know that as of now, the Ajaokuta environment has a few insecurity issues. But we understand that if you design an environment to be active and the activities are not there, right? It's like you have buildings and you have spaces abandoned. Definitely criminal elements and the wrong things will occupy the space. So if activities resume, security will return to that environment in full scale.
So you do believe that this is doable, this is achievable, and it will indeed benefit Nigerians by and large?
Definitely, I believe it's doable, it's achievable, and it's a golden opportunity for the president to at least demonstrate performance in a key area that he will forever be remembered for.
So I hear you call the president a lot of times and making it seem as though it's more of a federal issue than a state. And that brings me to the place where James is sharing, some of his concerns or a concern, and that I'm sure the listener also shares in, saying one would also wonder, why the Kogi state government isn't interested in getting involved, if not for anything, but using it as an avenue to develop the state. Right. But is this not more of a state issue? Can the state also begin to say, I want this to work? I mean, has it not also taken too long, one too many years, for administrations within in Kogi states to channel their searchlights into Ajaokuta Steel Company to ensuring that it gets back up on its feet? Well, some of these questions we will not be able to answer at this point in time, but I want to say a big thank you to you, Mr. Benedict Olalekun Agunloye, for stepping up and bringing your voice into this one. You are indeed you are a political, or you're an information professional, a policy and public affairs analyst. Tomorrow is yet another day. It might need me calling on you again tomorrow. I hope you will oblige, should I do so.
No problem.
All right. Thank you so much and have a great day. Right.
What you're doing?
Yeah.
And the nation would be better.
Right. Nation will be better. Okay. That is the size of it today. Thank you, Alameen. Thank you, James, for having your voice in. And, of course, thanks to you two for listening through. I know that you've got a lot to say, but then you at this point want to hold your peace because you want to hear the critical angle that we would engage the discourse from this morning. Well, you heard it. Tomorrow is yet another time. 9 a.m., of course, it will be. And until tomorrow, be that political being. Be indeed the one who has the realization that the power is with you and politics alone is what you address in the most civil and responsible way. My name is Udwak Daniel.